The following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin.
Everybody, I'm Christine, and this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. And I think for the 100th time or millionth time, I don't know, I need to change the opening thing because it's not just about uncovering the truth about online dating. It's about so much bullshit. You have no idea. So, well, welcome everybody. Today is a very special episode. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope you're having lots of turkey, lots of stuffing, and that you're curled up next to the fire with a big old blanket and listening to today's show. So today is episode 210. The episode is about learning to live again after the loss of a soulmate. Today we have Misty Schwartz. She opens up about losing her husband and soulmate, actor Scott Schwartz, and her journey to rebuild life after profound grief. She shares her love story, the pain of sudden loss, and the strength it takes to keep going. This is going to be a heartfelt conversation on healing, resilience, and honoring Scott's legacy while learning to live again. First, I have to say, I love you, Misty.
I love
Welcome
you too.
to my show.
Thank you for having me. So honored to be here.
You have no idea how difficult that was for me to read that.
I know.
And hold in my emotions. As you can, for those of you who are watching today and not just listening, I'm having a hard time holding back tears. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to be strong for you because you're one strong ass bitch. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So Misty and I are old friends. We've known each other. Oh my God. When did we meet, Misty?
A long time ago. I don't even remember how long, but at least probably 15 years, maybe at least, right?
Exact. I think so.
Yeah.
I've known you and Scott a long time. You and I used to do events together.
Yes.
You would hire me to come.
We had a lot of fun.
Oh my God. It was so much fun.
It was. You're the best at what you did. You were always the best. So.
Oh, thank you. I thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. I recently retired from doing weddings and basic events because I just, you know what it's like to be in the event business.
Super
it's
stressful.
Exhausting.
It is. Yeah.
So, but we did a lot of step and repeats and premieres together.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Those were a blast. And
they were.
Just, to start out to say that Scott was an extraordinary man and people truly loved him. Everyone who ever met Scott knew that he was just the biggest teddy bear you ever knew in your life. He was extremely tough looking and intimidating looking. He was a big, big man. And nothing was bigger than his heart.
Right, for sure.
Which, he gave so much love, it gave out. That's how I see it.
It's probably the truth, and it's an honor because everyone that meets him, it's like everyone across the board says the same thing. So it's like, it's not some prescripted thing that people just say to be nice. It's actually the truth. That's what I love about it. He was actually real genuine. And it's ironic that he came from being a wrestler too.
He did.
And he was the bad guy.
Let's talk about Scott first. Let's talk about, what he did in his career. Will you tell us a little bit about how amazing he was?
Sure. I guess it all started.
You just went quiet, Misty. You might have lost your sound. Look on there and see where it says the microphone and see if it has a little line through it because all of a sudden we lost.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Or did I lose my hearing?
Oh, mine looks good.
So, Rebel. Maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Hold on
I
one
can hear
second.
you.
Okay, I'm back. For
Okay.
some reason, I lost sound. So go ahead, Misty.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
So I guess we'll start back to the probably when he was in his 20s, he became a wrestler. And I don't know if you remember, but he used to tell the story that he became a wrestler because he worshipped his I think he called it, God forgive me if I'm wrong, his Zadie, which is their grandmother in Jewish. He was
Mhm.
Jewish, and he thought his was the hung the moon, and so he would hear her watching these wrestling shows, and she was a real mild person, but she would be in there like cursing and yelling at the screen. And so he said, well, if she could get that excited over that, that's what makes me, maybe I could do that. And then she would, whatever. So anyway, long story short, he became a wrestler, and I think he did that for like 20 years. Um,
Mhm.
and then somewhere along the line, he met some people that said, you should, I think he was maybe doing something in California or someone along the way. Well, first of all, he was trained by Killer Kowalski, which was people that know wrestling absolutely love Killer Kowalski. Most of them will know that. And he wrestled, and was friends with all the great wrestlers. So,
I
for any
love
of the
that.
wrestling fans out there, one thing that eventually I aim to do, it's still hard right now, but we do still have a lot of pictures and things. So I definitely love to eventually, maybe for charity events and things, donate some of those pictures to events for charity, the wrestling pictures, the acting pictures. So he went from wrestling, and then someone said you should, I think, try acting or something to that degree. And he, I've got his actually autobiography started. We started it years ago, and we used to travel a lot, or
Mhm.
literally travel. As you remember, we were in Seal Beach all the way up to LA. So it was like a trip, even though it was only like 30 miles, it took about 2 hours, right? So I would get on
Yeah.
my laptop, and we would, doing that or either other trips. And we actually started his autobiography years ago,
Mhm.
and unauthorized, obviously now, but I want to eventually finish that, and get that
That would be
published. That's one of my
amazing.
goals, and maybe have that donate also to children's foundations. And we'll get into that later. But so he started, he knew all the great wrestlers and did all the great. I mean, he went from everywhere, as South Africa, like all over the world, right, with Killer
Right.
Kowalski. And then he, got really lucky and got into acting. And of course, one of his most popular first movies, I think that most people recognize him from, was Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Fire Down
Mhm.
Below with Steven Seagal. And then, of course, everybody most recognizes him from being Bruiser on the Ocean's
Ocean's
11, 12, and
11.
13. He was
Yeah.
actually in all three. And we were just really honored recently, because I don't know if you saw where I posted online. They're recently talking about doing an Ocean's 14. And
Mm.
they mentioned all the people that had passed before that were like recurring cast members. So I thought that was a really big honor, as well as,
Mhm.
obviously you saw the things online when he passed.
Yeah.
George Clooney released a statement about working with him. And so that was a really big blessing, because, Scott wasn't starstruck, and he didn't like all that publicity. He didn't even, as like to go to red carpet events. We had to drag him and bag him, lure him with you. I'll
Yes.
be like, Christine's going to be there. You got to go. But other than that, he didn't really like to do that sort of thing, because he just liked the work. He didn't want the publicity from it. So
Right.
I think he would be really honored, and probably
He
shocked
was
at all of
a
this publicity
humble
he got.
guy.
Very
Yeah.
humble, yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is what I think people loved about him, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but there's
Absolutely.
definitely so much more, and then all along the way, I think around in 1980, I don't recall the exact year, maybe 87, he lost his sister to cancer.
Mhm.
And so after that, he started doing, and you probably remember this, he visited children's hospitals,
Yeah.
and started, he'd been doing it a long time when I met him. And when I met him, I was like, nobody knows that you're doing this. I'm like, people would love to know that their favorite actor also is a really good humanitarian, not just someone running out there to give out things for publicity. As we all know, sometimes it
Right.
happens.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
think everybody benefits still from it, but I think it's better when people don't try to get publicity from it, as you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he
Exactly.
had a very exciting career, from all the acting and wrestling. And in fact, when he left the world, it was very overwhelming for me, because my phone was blowing up and his phone was blowing up. And I was like, I just couldn't. In fact, I probably still owe some people some calls, that called me during that
Yeah.
time. And it was just really hard to I didn't know what to say to them, basically. So
Right. Well, when you lose someone so close to you, you are going through so much yourself, and you're just trying to think, how am I going to wake up every day and put one foot in front of the other and even get out of this fucking bed?
right.
And then you've got, everybody else that's, cares so much about him and you're an extraordinary woman, and
Thank you.
they all want to be there for you. And I can understand how that, I don't know how you do it. I didn't know how you
Thank you.
did it.
I would text people back, and he also has 2 children from a previous marriage, and so that was
Yeah.
also overwhelming. Having to not know how to console those kids because
Yeah.
they were raised by their mom, and I mean I have a relationship with them, but not as close as probably some stepmoms would be.
But they were
But
older though at that time, weren't they?
much
When you
older.
guys
Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
in their
yeah.
30s. So,
Yeah.
and they were older in their late 20s and early 30s when I met them. So,
Right.
but
Right.
we have a very unique story of how we met, which I think definitely falls into your show because I don't know if
Yeah.
you recall that we actually met at a and if you want to ask other something else, if I'm going in the right direction, let me know, or if
No,
you
no,
want
you're
me to
going in
pivot.
the I
Um,
girl, let me tell you
okay.
something. You and
I'm from
I
the South, so I'm going to talk all
are
night.
always on the same page. It's like I
We
literally
were.
thought, "Oh, we're going to head into how they met next," and you literally go, "So, how we met?" So
Right.
here we are.
Well, because it's
So yes,
so unique, and when you first asked me to do this, I looked it up and I'm like, I don't really know if I'm going to fit in, but you know what? I know Christy, I trust you, and I know that you
you
knew
fit
that it would
in.
be a good fit. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it because I think it's a good way to honor him, especially the week of his passing,
Mhm.
and definitely, he loved your boldness and definitely your language because he was an F bomber. From Philly. I don't personally do that, but you know what? I love to
I
hear it
do.
because it reminds me of him, and I'm like, it's Scott. And
Yeah,
I will
Scott
tell
and
you,
I are
I've got
always out
some.
there. Fuck this. Fuck that. Fuck. Fuck. Fuck.
Oh,
You know.
totally, totally. And I used to tell people he didn't mean any malice by it. He just
Mm-mm.
that was just part of the way he talked.
For me,
I will
it's
tell
just
you
a
this.
word.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
But
it's just
and
a
I
word.
will tell you, he was very respectful, like of my mom, because she would always
Yeah.
tease him and tell him. And in fact, I've got a video. I'll have to send it to you that she was going to send him a bar of soap if he dropped the F bomb. So sometimes we would be like recording him a lot, which has also helped me a lot. I didn't realize that we made so many videos together,
Yeah.
but I recorded him a lot. And sometimes he would drop the F bomb, and I'd say, "Oh my gosh, you said it!" And I said, "My mom's gonna send you a bar of soap," and he'd be like, "No, not the soap." This big giant, afraid of the little bar of soap. So it was a cute thing that we had. But the funnier story is how we met because I not from Tennessee, but I'm from Atlanta, and I just moved to Tennessee in 2001. That's where my mom is from, and all my family are. And so I'd moved to Tennessee, and I was so bored because I was the only one in my family that was single, no kids, nothing to do. So I volunteered for the visitor center at the local in Knoxville, right, in the local community
Hmm.
visitor center. And so somehow I got placed at a Buffy the Vampire Slayer convention to take tickets from him while people got his autograph. And I was like, okay, this should be interesting because I had never watched the show a day in my life.
Neither
I
did
think I
I,
watched the
actually.
movie, but I never watched the show.
Right. Hmm.
It's almost like a cult. It's almost like
Oh,
I think they were
honey,
way more passionate than like Twilight people because it's a whole different type of people that
it's
are just like all into that.
it's not almost like a cult, honey.
It is
It
a cult. It is,
is.
yeah.
It's a
And
pop
I
culture.
was definitely overwhelmed when I went there. And so we met in October 2005. And the funny story is they had a really big celebrity dinner, like with all the cast and people. And we didn't get to talk much that day because, of course, it was a really busy convention. So he was doing autographs and taking pictures all day. And I was taking the tickets while they got it. And so he invited me to a dinner that night, but I declined because I'm like, I don't know this guy and I don't know
Oh my
celebrities. I'm not going
God.
to hang around people I don't know that are out of my element. So I declined and I went back the next day and, it was a 2-day thing. And so I went back the next day and he was still nice. And he probably thought, what an idiot. She could have been around all these celebrities and didn't want to. So I don't know if that's what made him like me, that I turned it down. And then so the next day I
Mhm.
took tickets. We did fine. We said bye. He give me an autographed postcard with his name, and I think it had his email and stuff on it. So I don't know why or what possessed me, but I was much younger. So I emailed him one day and I'm like, it was nice to meet you. If you're ever in town again, let me know and I'll take your tickets, or something like that. Just cheesy.
I bet you'll take
So,
his ticket.
yeah, exactly. And so I thought, no, he's never gonna call. Like, I just thought it was nice to meet him. He was a very nice, polite person, right? And the next thing I know, I get a call like on a Friday night, and my mom, I'm with my mom and my aunt, and get a call on my phone. Back in the old days, the big heavier cell phones, right? And it was him, but I never suspected it would be him. So I thought it was one of my cousins playing a prank on me. It was actually like really rude and short. And I was like, yeah, I'm with my family. I'll have to call you back. And I was like really blunt and just kind of hung up abruptly. And then I started texting my cousins and I'm like, did you guys just play a prank on me? And then they're like, no. I'm like, oh crap. I think I just insulted somebody that was so. Long story short, that's how we started talking. And we did the long distance thing for years. And I think until maybe like 2008, finally he was like, okay, you're going to have to move out here because I'm tired of doing the long distance thing. So I was like, well, I did hate to leave my family because I'm an only child and very close to my family. So it was a definite hard decision, but I don't know, young and crazy and get the wild hair. And I did it. I moved out there in 2008. And I guess you would say the rest is history, and then we got married in 2011. And then in 2013, we actually moved to Louisiana. He had worked here and just loved the people, the way of life. And we moved here in 2013 and we really enjoyed it. It's been a great place to be, for family and culture and, just out of the craziness of LA, right? He had been there over 20 years, so he was really ready to get out.
Oh, don't I know that feeling? I've been here 27 years. I'm well, as we all know, I'm packing up and leaving in 2 weeks. So
thank God, praise God, you're getting out. And where are you going again?
I'm going to go to Mexico for about 6 months, and then I'll reevaluate where I'm going from there, whether I go back or go to Europe. But I'll be back in the States for about 3 or 4 months or so. I'll come and see you.
Oh, you have to. Yeah,
I would love that.
Plenty of room,
Love that.
It's a beautiful town and definitely way slower pace of life than out there, but we loved it here. And we just adapted and just enjoyed it, and we got to travel a lot. That's one thing that he loved to do, was travel. And so and then that's the other thing that I'm really blessed. It's like you don't want to lose your loved ones, but if you do, and here's what I can tell everybody, for now and forever, whomever you're with, whether it's your parents, anyone that you love and you're close to, you can't have enough pictures or videos of them. Even sneak videos, random, no prompted videos are just the best things, because at any given time I can play a message, I can hear his voice, I can see a silly video, and no, it doesn't replace them, but it definitely helps you remember a happier time, when they're not, not health declining and that sort of thing, and it's a blessing because he never actually, his health really never declined as far as like, he didn't feel bad. You would have never known he was even sick, and we did do dialysis on him, the last year of his life. I did his dialysis, which was a blessing that I could do it. But he wasn't like sickly. He was still Scott Schwartz, so you would not have known. I don't think many of his friends even knew that he was getting that, actually. So just really prideful and just, kind of kept to himself with things like that.
So tell us, what did happen with Scott's health? What did happen? How we lost Scott?
Well, the ultimate problem from a long time ago, apparently, like even when I met him, he had kidney disease from a child. And so for all these years he had it, and then he was diabetic. So anytime he ever got, anything, any kind of, let's say a foot infection or, anything come up, that would be normal for us. But when you're diabetic, as you know, it takes longer. And then you add the kidney disease on top of that, and then it makes you limited on things that you can utilize, like medications and things, certain antibiotics tank the kidneys. Doctors don't worry with us because if we don't have kidney disease, it's not as harmful. But unfortunately, when you're a kidney, when your kidneys are compromised, it puts you at risk. So that's kind of what happened. Is he had gotten just worsening kidney failure.
Mhm.
And then, unfortunately, you don't get the right doctors, or who knows what causes the blood pressure to go up and down. And then those meds can hurt your kidneys. So,
Yeah.
long story short, he didn't have a lot of ailments other than, here and there. Occasionally he would get something that maybe he would need the antibiotics, but essentially it was just antibiotics basically tank the kidneys. And then
Yeah.
for the last year, we were doing home dialysis, and it was a blessing. Like, I had never done anything medical my whole life, and people ask me, they're like, "Well, are you going to do it?" I'm like, "There's no question," I'm like, and between you and I had no medical experience. I never even had kids. I mean, I raised,
Right.
I babysat, but I never personally had them. So, I didn't have probably that nature that you do or others do that have kids. But God just blessed me, and I said, I don't know. And I got blessed in a lot of ways because the guy that trained me came to our house and trained me, and he had been doing it. His name is Roy Jerome. He had been doing it for like 30 years. And it's like,
Mhm.
if you want someone to train you, that's who you want to train you, is a guy that's been doing it and he actually had a passion for it. Like, he loved what he did. He was actually retired. He would come out of retirement to do special projects when people needed it, like us probably. And he
Yeah.
actually came into our home and trained me. And I mean, it was just a blessing. It was a miracle.
Mhm.
So it was very successful. I mean, we didn't have any problems with it. And that was my biggest fear. I mean, I
Right.
didn't research it a whole lot. I just studied what I was taught because I knew if I Googled and researched, that would just be the end of it because I'd be too afraid to do it.
Right. Oh,
Um,
yeah.
one of the things that people can get apparently when they have dialysis, you can get a blood clot that goes to the brain or the
Mm.
lungs, and it'll take you out instantly. And then what also essentially hurt us all is that in 2021, he had gotten a little tiny foot infection. And then what happened is the home health nurse that came over during COVID to treat that had COVID and brought it
Oh.
into our home. And so I essentially think that was really the big downfall for all of it, is that
Yeah.
you know, COVID in 2021 and having to get those super strong antibiotics. And then,
Yeah.
then progressively through the years, when you have other infections, it just kind of is no good. And so, but honestly, he never had any lung or heart issues until we got COVID in 2021. And then I think that caused him to get, like, after that, every time we would go out of the hospital just for little things, they'd be like, oh, he has, lung issues and heart issues. Well, he never
Mhm.
smoked, never drank, never did drugs a day in his life. So how do you
Right.
get COPD and heart trouble when you didn't have any of those ailments before? So again, I'm pretty sure it was basically because of COVID, and I'm not trying to blame COVID for everything, but
Right.
we had it pretty bad. I mean, I still literally, like, I lost smell and taste, and I can still only, which is bad because I love sweets. Mostly I taste sweets. I still don't taste regular foods 100%. So what does that tell you? It's probably still in my system somehow. And
Right.
we didn't believe in the vaccine. So we didn't take the vaccine. We did get lucky, and we got the Trump approved monoclonal antibodies that were allowed
Mhm.
back then. When
Mhm.
other people got in office, those were, I think, shut down, but we did get those. And literally, it was a blessing we got those, because literally the very next day, no lie, like, we got them. They put 4 shots in our stomachs, and me, my mom,
Mm.
and my husband, and my mom was here visiting at the time, and we all got it, and we all had different variants, and it's so crazy. Then we get the monoclonal antibody, and then the very next day, it was like a 360. We could all breathe. We felt better,
Ooh.
and I mean, it was. I think it saved our life. Like, I don't. I think if we wouldn't have gotten that, we probably would all be like gone.
Right.
But it definitely left some lingering effects, which is sad.
Mhm.
For him, I think the heart trouble and the lung issues. My mom is 78 now, and I think hers probably got a little worse, because she had a little
Yeah.
bit of asthma anyway. And I noticed, ever since then, she's struggled with different things with her lungs too. Thank
Yeah.
God, I didn't get the heart or the lung issues, but definitely got, like, I mean, I still don't taste food 100%, so that's no fun. I mean, it takes all the joy away when you don't taste like salty foods.
It
So,
does.
but again, I'm like, I can smell it, and I'm like, oh, well, I know it's going to taste good because, in the South, and you're a chef, so or baker, everything is basically based on smell, right? If it smells good, it's
Smell
going
and
to taste
taste.
good. Like,
Yeah.
exactly. So thank God I got my smell back, and so I just smell of everything. But I think that's what essentially, was the determining factor that caused,
Mm.
the health decline. And then it just, you know, thank God for the dialysis though, because it definitely lengthened his life more than it could have, and thank God it wasn't the cause of him passing as well. So I was like, and he went the most peaceful way ever. So it was, you don't want to see your loved ones go, but it's like if they do, you want them to be peaceful. And the other blessing that we had, and I didn't try to convert him, is that he also became a Christian while he was with me. I never tried to convert him because, again, he was raised Jewish. He was Jewish, and as you know, he was a proud Jew. And every week I would go to church, and I'd be like, if you're welcome to go if you want, because I, go to a Baptist church, and every week he would say, well, I'm a Jew, and I'm like, well, it's okay because Jesus was a Jew, so they love you, and that was our big joke. So one week he says, well, first of all, I have to stop and tell you, I don't know if you remember our nicknames. We're Billy and Jew. I don't know if you remember this.
I do
you remember
that.
Yes.
Now that you say that, yes.
So I have to say this because he said, Billy, I'm going to go to church with you tomorrow. And I'm like, no, you don't really. And then I just felt bad. I was like, well, I don't want to convert you. I'm not trying to make you go. You don't have to go. He's like, no, I want to go. I want to go. So it was a true blessing because he went, and I'll have to send you the picture. Maybe you can show it when you air this. He actually fell in love with my pastor. And then when he did, have a few health issues over the years, when he would ever, let's say ever got sick, they were over here praying with him, or they would even come to the hospital if God forbid he went to the hospital. And finally one day, you know what he told me? He said, I feel more love from those people than I ever did from the rabbis, which not is a bad thing. It's just saying he feels more connected
different
to them
culture
now at this point in his life, and so I think that was a true blessing, and I think that was a whole source and reason for our paths crossing probably is for that to happen. Don't you agree?
I do.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not Jewish, but I work with 90% of my clients were of the Jewish cultures. I say cultures because there's different variants of the Jewish culture. And I've done almost every type of wedding for them and different
So
all of the holidays. Yeah, the high holidays. I've always been called the what's it called? The honorary Jew. They always say, well, you're an honorary Jew, Christine. It's a warm culture that people are wonderful. But it is completely different because I've been to church at a Jewish temple or whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry. I don't. I got a concussion. We all remember I got a really bad concussion this week.
And we're blessed that you're here.
Thank you. I'm blessed that I'm here. But when you go from one type of religion where it's completely different than a Christian culture religion, it's so night and day. And I'm sure that was really fascinating for him. And I'm sure your pastor was very warm and welcoming. And
well,
he's
do
that
you know
kind
what?
of guy.
Well, are you ready for this? And I'm not being rude. I just realized I'm going to turn my phone completely off because I have a cousin who's like my sister, and I have her set up so my cousin and my mom and Scott, if they called and my phone was on silent, it would still come through. So I shut it off. So you ready for the best part about him meeting my pastor? I forgot this part. When he met the pastor, he looks at him, and granted, Scott's 6'10", and my pastor, I don't know how tall he is, but everybody's, small compared to Scott. So anyway, he meets the pastor, but pastors in general, they feel larger than life anyway, because of the love you feel from them, if you have a good one, which we do.
Right.
But he meets the pastor, and he looks right at him, and he says, the pastor introduces himself, and he says, hi, I'm Scott Schwartz, and I'm a Jew. And because what the pastor says, he says, that's okay, I taught Hebrew school. And I'm like, how perfect was that? Like chills go all over you when you think about it, because not many Baptist pastors have taught Hebrew school, So Pastor Whalen was ready to hold his own. And then ironically, when he first met him, again, I'll have to send you the picture to put with this, but when he first met him, he was wanting to do some sort of wrestling thing for charity, the pastor was, but his wife didn't want him to. And so, of course, Scott was showing him some wrestling moves. And so I just was able to capture some of those pictures. So, but they immediately connected because, Pastor Whalen is a wrestling fan. And then of course, Scott was a wrestler. So it was just like perfect harmony. And so
I love
it
it.
was a beautiful relationship, and definitely meant to be. And
I
so
love it.
but Scott always had a big heart anyway. Even before I met him, I grew up in Atlanta, and I grew up watching Dr. Charles Stanley in Touch Ministries. I've probably sent you stuff, and I'm sure you've seen it on TV before.
Right.
And so Scott always would watch those with me as well. And then
Mm.
he started watching Pastor Whalen with me every week if we couldn't go. Of course during COVID,
Yeah.
nobody could go, right? So
Well, I I'm originally from the South, as you probably remember.
right.
But I grew up Southern Baptist for a long time, and it's it's entertainment.
Oh, true
It's
entertainment. Yeah.
people are very welcoming, and it's I'm sure that he just felt the love in there. So I'm great. That's great.
Well,
I
I
love that.
think what is great about it is a lot like you remember people from the South. I mean, he's from New York, I mean, he's from Philly, but he raised his children in New York, and um, people are really blunt there. And we're a lot alike. We're a lot that way in the South as well. As you know, we'll tell you like it is because it's just better to get it out than sugarcoat it, right? And so, and there's other places in the world, like, I don't want to say California, but there are that will sugarcoat things, and then you don't really know how
Right.
people feel. And I think that's actually what
Yeah.
drew me to him, because I was tired. And ironically, when we both met, we both said we never wanted a relationship, we never want to be committed, and so we were cool with that for years because we both had exes that cheated. And we
Yeah.
were like, we don't want that anymore. We don't want any relationship. And I think that's probably, and that ties into your show, that's what made it work, is because we didn't go into it like you see. I think the
Right.
biggest mistake that most people make nowadays is they don't go into something with an open mind, and you're
Right.
almost better off if you go into it and think, I don't want a commitment. Because if you go into it thinking you want a commitment, it's going to make everything seem substandard, and you're going to be judging everything based on what you think it should be instead of letting what should happen. And so
Right.
that's kind of what we did. In fact, I don't know if you remember, but when he proposed to me,
Mm.
we're at this area at the airport. I know you remember this story. And
Mhm.
he took, first of all, he had actually been in the hospital. He wasn't even supposed to be driving. This was in California. He had like something done, and he had an infection. So anyway, he had just gotten out of the hospital, and he shouldn't have been driving, but he insisted to go take me to see the lights, the light display, where you go drive through. And
Yeah.
this was New Year's Eve, and I was like, no, you don't need to be driving. Yeah. Well, anyway, you don't fight with him. He wins. So, and so we had an agenda, and I didn't know it. He took me to our favorite pizza place, which is Johnny's in Santa
Yeah.
Monica. Yep.
Yeah.
And then we leave there and we go park near the airport, which is where he used to park before he would take me back before I lived there. And he was acting so strange. I was like, is he going to break up with me on New Year's Eve and send me home? And then he's
That's
like,
amazing.
I need you to get something out of the dash. And of course, he's too cool for lights. So I had to open the dash I had to turn my phone on to see inside what I thought was something in the dash. And while I'm turning my phone on or holding my phone, it dings and it has a text and it says, will you marry me? And he's getting the ring out of the console. He's got the big Titan. And I look
Yeah.
over and I look at my phone, and he's a big trickster, him. And
I do.
I look at my
Yeah.
phone and I look at
He
him,
is.
and he looks all like still nervous looking, like freaked out. And then I see the ring box and I said, are you joking? I said, is this for real or are you joking? Because I didn't know, because he was such a, cut up. And then he's like, no, I want you to marry me. And I'm like, are you
Aw,
sure? And I
I
still
love
thought it
that
was a
so
joke.
much.
And finally he got the ring out, and I'm like, okay, I guess it's not a joke anymore. So I was really excited and happy, of course. But
Yeah.
again, because he joked so much,
Yeah.
I never wanted to, I never knew if he was telling the truth or not. And so,
Yeah.
and of course, I don't know if you remember this, but the Billy and Jew came from, when he first met me, he wanted to call me hillbilly because I'm from the South.
Because of your
And so I'm
hillbilly
like,
accent.
I was like, I'm not a hillbilly. I mean, I'm from Atlanta. I'm from the city. And so then he said, he kept on. And finally he says, well, can I call you Billy? Like short for hillbilly. I'm like, no, my name's Misty, not Billy. And he's like, no, but can I call you Billy? That's what you are. You're a Billy. I'm like, finally, I just got tired of it. I'm like, okay, if you're going to call me Billy, I'm going to call you Jew because you're Jewish. And so it kind
I
of
love
stuck.
it.
I'm not really sure how his family truly felt about it, but I do know one time I was around his mom when I said that, and I think her head did like a 360, and she said, "What did you call him?" I said, "I called him Jew." She said, "You can't call him that." I said, "I
Why
can because he
not?
calls me Billy." And she's like, "But you can't call him Jew. You're not a Jew." And I'm like, "I know, but I'm not a Billy, and he calls me Billy." So it was
And
pretty
neither
funny.
is he, and he's calling it to you. Listen,
Exactly.
nicknames
So
are terms
he
of
was all in
endearment
love.
can be
It really
anything.
was. Yeah. And so that was our little joke. And then sometimes when he would be at the airport, he would be calling, calling, "I love you, Billy. I love you, Billy." And I'd always tease him. And I'm like, people probably think you're like talking to someone else, not a that guy talking to you. Why does he keep saying, "I love you, Billy?" So it was a big
My
long running joke, and we just had a lot of fun with it.
I
So
love it.
it
One of
gave us
my
a laugh.
one of my high school friends, her name was Billy. So, girls are
Aw,
called Billy. Yeah. I
they
cry every
are,
time
and
we
I
talk about
learned
that.
that. I know it is
It's hard.
devastating, and but you know what?
So,
It warms my heart, especially to be around people like you that truly knew him and loved him for who he
yeah,
was, and we had a lot of good times together, didn't we? And
we did.
he definitely went way too soon, but my
Oh,
goal
definitely.
is to you know, I've got a couple of goals in mind. One of which he also had started a wrestling documentary years
Hmm.
ago. Um, Maybe we can all work together and get that. I'd like to get the rest of
Well,
the wrestlers interviewed and get that together. He's got
we
footage
should.
like where he literally interviewed people. He's got the wrestling documentary, and he's got, I've got his autobiography. I want to
Hmm.
get that published, and I want to do an official charity in his name and raise money for children's hospitals forever in Scott Schwartz Foundation.
Well, you
So,
know that during COVID, when I couldn't work as an event planner, I set, my mom had died a couple, like a year or so before.
I remember. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. And that was really rough. And it was during COVID, and I was panicking. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go through all my savings. I wasn't going to get any help from like other people got, and because being a small business owner, it was impossible. And
Right.
I decided, I really need to figure this out. And I went to bed one night, and in the middle of the night, my mother came to me. And I don't
Wow.
remember what she said or what happened, but I do remember it very clearly. And I know that we talked, but I don't remember what it was. And when I woke up, I immediately was flooded with my idea for my first documentary.
Oh, wow.
So I started my production company during COVID and named it after my hometown, my production company. It's Chugwater Creek Productions.
I love that.
And I've been working on several docs, but one right now that I'm particularly working on is called Darling of the Derby. And it's about the first female jockey to race in the Kentucky Derby. She was the first
Oh,
to get
wow. I
licensed,
love
and
that.
it's amazing. But we are going to talk more because this is something that I can
I'm sure there's a
definitely,
lot we could do together.
yeah,
And God has a way of putting people back in your lives for a reason. And we never really left. And when you have friends like us, you can be away for years and you pick back up right where you left off. And it's like
exactly.
family.
It is. It
And I
is.
think that's a blessing. That we met people like you, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of great people in the world. And it definitely makes your heart warm. And I'm going to tell you one more story, and you're probably definitely going to cry, but I have to tell you because it's really unique. Because I haven't. I'm one of those people, I don't know, because I love my work. So I work 24/7, my PR work. And so it's my
Mhm.
baby. And I try to definitely, obviously, since Scott's been gone, I've definitely tried to bury. And God's really blessed me because he's just poured the work in unique projects,
That's great.
and even this, Christine, it feels like a blessing to be here, and definitely a
Mhm.
blessing for the week that it's going to be aired. It's a great honor
Yeah.
for him. And so a really beautiful story that you have to hear is a few weeks ago I was in Tennessee. I'd taken my mom to her doctor's visit. She's been the best mom in the world, staying here. She has a home in Tennessee, but she came here when I started the dialysis, and didn't leave her side. And it's a blessing because Scott loved her so much he called her mom. And she tells everyone he was like her son. So, it definitely hit us hard. But it's definitely a blessing, obviously, to have your mom around for anything, but especially when your spouse loves your mom like a mom, that's a double blessing. So anyway, I taken my mom to Tennessee to go to her doctor's appointment, and she and my aunt were in the car. And after the doctor's appointment, it was, breakfast time. And I said, why don't we go? And I don't know if you saw this post on my Facebook, but I posted a video where Scott, if you know Scott, he loves breakfast, and Waffle House was one of his all-time favorites. Like, he loved.
Right.
When we were in LA, when we were in Seal Beach, when we were in California, we lived in Seal Beach, as you know. We went to, I think one of his favorites there was like Hobbs Hut and a couple of others around in that area, in Seal Beach area. But when we moved to the South, he reconnected with Waffle House, and then that was just like his all-time favorite. And he didn't get all the slop; he would just get the 3-egg cheese omelet, and that was it. So anyway, I take my mom and my aunt. We're passing by Waffle House, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna just go get you guys an omelet for breakfast. I'm not a big omelet person, but I love the waffles there. And so I got them. I went in. They don't let you call an order ahead anymore since COVID. You have to go in and place the order. And so I went in and placed the order. Well, the first thing that was very unique, I love my daughter-in-law, but I don't hear from her a whole lot. I mean, everybody's young. They have their own lives. So
Right.
I probably hadn't heard from her in weeks, maybe. And the minute I sat down in his favorite restaurant, I get a text from his daughter. Okay. So that was number one. And I'm sitting there waiting. And then, did you see the post I did on Facebook? Do you know where I'm going with this? I don't know if you know the song by ELO, Telephone Line.
Yes.
That is his all-time favorite. I mean, all-time
Mhm.
favorite song. He had a bunch, but he played that a lot. And so, while I'm sitting there, right after the daughter texts me, that song comes on the jukebox.
Damn.
And I mean, chills went all over me. And I'm not a public crier. I'm not a fall apart person, but I literally had tears just streaming down my face. And I walk up to the counter. I know they probably thought I'm like some crazy older lady that, just having an emotional breakdown. But I walk up to the counter and I asked the girl, I'm like, is that on the jukebox or the radio? She's like, oh, we don't have radio. Someone put that on the jukebox. I said, well, you don't happen to know who? And she said, actually, it was your waitress, which was an even younger girl than the one I'm talking, like really young, like
waitress.
I would say 20s.
Damn.
So no odds that girl could have known that. I don't know where she got the inkling. I never even confronted her because I was too upset. But I told the girl that was speaking to me, I said, it's just very ironic because then I told her, this is my husband's favorite restaurant of all time. And then his favorite song comes on. And I mean, it just really hit me. Like, is this a message from Scott? Like, I knew he was happy I was there because he was. And you ready for this? I never even, because our joke used to be that was before my time. So I didn't know the words to the song really. I mean, I just knew hello, telephone line, all that stuff. So later I was telling one of my friends, and they said, you really need to look up the lyrics for that song. And oh my gosh, you're going to have to look them up later. You may already know it. But if you read the lyrics, it literally makes chills go all over you because like, hello, it's been a long time. How are you doing? I'm like, even now I'm getting chills. I'm not going to cry. But it was very devastating. I was like, this is a huge sign. And it just felt wonderful and a blessing, but it also felt weird, but I knew it was a sign, a happy sign from him saying you're in the right place, Misty, So that was a definite, that's the only thing that I think I've had other things, but that's the biggest one, that stood out. But it's definitely a sign, and I know that his love is all around all of us. And he's definitely happy that I'm on your show and with you, the person that loves to drop the F-bomb like him. And, not afraid of it. You know what I mean? Like, so many people in the world are offended by everything. And that's what I love about you. And I loved about Scott is that you're not afraid to offend people with what you truly say, because no one wants something sugar-coated. And that's what's the 50 Shades of BS. That is what it is. And that's why the world has so much trouble nowadays, even communicating with their own children. It's not just about relationships with, opposite sexes. It's about relationships with family. It starts with the family, right?
Yep.
So, but it's a blessing. He provided blessings for all of us, and we all feel the love. And I think we always will. And, our goal, I think, for all of us is to, again, tell people you love them as much as you can, which we did. We were blessed. Go on as
Mhm.
many trips as you can. Do all the fun things you want to do now, because there may not be a tomorrow. You know,
Mhm.
like one thing that makes me sad all of a sudden, I don't know if you guys have seen it everywhere, but they keep talking. He always wanted to take me to see the Northern Lights, and all this stuff
Mm.
has been, I mean, nonstop about Aurora Borealis, and he wanted to take me to see
Nonstop.
that nonstop, and that was him too. He
Mhm.
actually had, the year right before he got dialysis, he had planned for us to go to see the Northern Lights, and I'm like, Scott, I think
Mm.
you're gonna have to cancel it. We can't go this year, but maybe in the next year. And ever since then, so maybe that's him too, telling us, look at the lights, look at the colors.
Right.
So when you see that, think
Absolutely.
of him too, for sure.
Absolutely. What's crazy
Yes,
is I'd never seen it in my life. And
I
I
hadn't
grew up
either.
in Wyoming, and my sister keeps sending me pictures from all
I know.
the lights and I'm like, what the fuck? How come that shit wasn't there when I was? It's like,
Right. Thank
what the
you.
heck?
I didn't even know what it was. He told me, and I don't know if you remember, he ever told you this story, that he was on a road trip with the wrestlers, and he's driving because they're all drunks, and he's always a designated driver. And he stops when he's like driving, and he stops, and he's like, "Oh my God, Aurora Borealis!" And one of the wrestlers said, "Did you hit it?" And he's like, "No, it's not an animal, you dummy. It's the lights. Look
Did you hit
outside."
it?
But they
You
thought
know,
he hit something in the road.
my granddaughter is named after Aurora Borealis, Ellis, or
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
And the night of her birth, I went and found what the sky looked like for that, and I
Oh,
painted it for
wow.
her first Christmas because she
Oh,
was
that is so
born
beautiful.
the night before Halloween, and her name's Aurora.
I
Yeah,
love that. That is
so I
simply
painted that for her.
beautiful. See,
I
we're all
know.
connected,
So
Christine. And isn't it ironic
it
that
is.
her and you, and that was one of Scott's favorite things? I mean, it's meant to be,
I know. I
that
know.
we're
So
all
tell us,
family.
Misty, we are all family.
Yes.
My show goes real fast. We only got 2 minutes
It
left, but
does. I
I know. But tell us, Misty, what is your best advice from someone who's actually lived this? How do you go on? What do you take with you to help you move through each day?
A lot of prayers. Definitely, as you know, I'm a Christian, so you have to focus on God 100%. You're not going to focus on drugs. I don't take any antidepressants. I'm not against that. If people need it, they should take it, because some people
Right.
need it. I have relatives that have lost people, a lot of relatives that have lost people that have to take that, and I encourage it, because if you need it, you need it. God has
Absolutely.
blessed me. Maybe one day I'll fall apart. I don't know, but I've been really blessed, and I'm really strong. Like I
Yeah,
did
you
his
are.
dialysis, and I didn't fall apart. But I would just say, stick to your faith, and let your family in, or friends in, that want to help you. Even if people say, "How are you?" and you don't want to say anything, just maybe make up something and go eat somewhere, or go do something with family, and just really cling to your family and your religion, number one, and family and friends, number two, because it does help you. Like I said, my mom's been here, and so many people have reached out, you and others, and it really means the world. It does.
Well, we love you. I mean,
Love you guys.
I say we. I me. I love
Yes,
you.
yes, I love you too. Thank you,
I mean, I
Christine.
know so many people that love you guys, and
Thank you.
it's one thing to lose a good friend, but it's another when it's the love of your life, your
Yeah,
soulmate,
for sure.
and you're so young, and I think about how long I've lived my life without my person, and then
Right.
here's someone like you who got so blessed to have such a great man and such a great
I
life with
did. I was
him.
truly blessed. Thank
you
you.
know I can't even imagine what that's like to move forward, and I just commend you so much, and I love and respect you so much, and
Thank you. And you guys
whenever
too.
I
And thank you
you
guys
know
for everything, and for having me. It's such an honor. It
oh
really
my
is.
god, you're a blessing as a friend, and
Thank you.
Scott was a lucky man to have such a wonderful woman
Thank
like
you.
you. And
Thank you.
I'm sure it helps to know that you were truly loved.
It does.
I
It
mean,
does, because
honestly.
people that was the biggest thing. As I think I sent you a text the other day, that another friend, even all the couples that know us, or even the men, this is something you don't expect from men to say, but a lot of men that, actors and wrestlers and other people that knew Scott, best friends, they all say the same thing, that he loved me so much, and that they never saw that. Most people don't experience that in a lifetime, and that they saw in us what most people never have in a whole lifetime. So we were really blessed that we had it, and that other people saw it, not something that we just kept amongst ourselves. People saw it in us. And that's what I always say as a Christian too, is I always pray for, others to see God in you, the love in you. And that's what they saw in us. It wasn't just the love of the relationship. I think it's the love of God as well. It resonates amongst everybody, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Missy, you know how much I love you.
Love you too. And thank you again. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. They're tears of, of not pain, of joy,
It is. And I have those too.
So lucky to have both of you in my life.
Thank you. And we are too. Really, and Scott would be real happy that you had your show, and he would have been on it too if he were here, and you know that. He loved to do stuff. Yeah,
I know. It was so fun.
He was a lot of fun.
But thank you for being here today. I hate that time goes so fast, and I hate cutting it off. But
it's okay.
We only got
I'll come
a certain
on again whenever you guys want me. So
and
I'm looking forward to doing more together with you guys.
Well, I'll be in touch with you. We're going to talk about your documentary for Scott and all the things you got going on. I'd love to be a part of that.
Same here.
Let's see what we can do to make that happen. And, we love having you here. For everyone who came to celebrate our Thanksgiving with us and to be part of the joy of Scott and Misty's love of, soulmate love. Thank you again for being here this week. I can't talk now all of a sudden. Same time, same place next week. And until then, keep this shit real. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.